this is Impress Review, episode 33. Tonight I'll be going over The Flash, season 3, episode 12, Untouchable. So the show starts off with Barry and Wally having a race to help Wally gain his speed. Back at Star Labs, the crew bets on them, most of them betting on Barry. The only person betting on Wally is HR. In the end, Barry does come out on top, but that's because he phased through a building and Wally ran over it. Later on, we see Julian, Joe, and Barry check in on a crime scene where the victim of a metahuman has been found. His body was decomposed, so it was destroyed more than they would have expected. But they don't understand how far it goes. Outside of the restaurant where the body is found, Iris warns Barry that the store that they're in was seen in the future. It's closed down under a new name, which basically tells Iris that the future is still set. Now, returning to Star Labs, Julian and Caitlin do an autopsy on the body, only to see that it's been completely disintegrated. In the meantime, Barry trains Wally down in the Speed Lab. This is where we finally see the meta who will be the villain, which is an old Flash villain named Clive Yorkin. There's not much information on him. He's actually, I believe, from the 70s or the 80s, and they really didn't use him much. Now, down in the Speed Lab, Barry stresses over Wally not being able to phase. Needing to leave for the crime scene, Barry learns that the victims are cops from the Flashpoint universe. So the first victim was in a restaurant. That person was a cop from the Flashpoint universe. The second victim is a jazz musician or a jazz player. He was if I'm 100% correct, he was the CCPD chief over in Flashpoint. So, we all figure out it's pretty obvious who else is left. There's not many other known cops besides Joe, and which we actually see later on. Joe, Iris, Wally, and Barry meet with the DA and her daughter. They have a fun little interaction between the families. Like, we find out that the DA's daughter is a fan of Kid Flash, while the DA herself is on Team Flash. Now, not long after, Yorkin does appear at the Jitters and attacks them, mainly going after Joe. But Wally was able to quickly handle him, and this is where we see that nothing can really hurt Yorkin. Joe shot at him, but bullets, they just disintegrated before even touching him. So it's pretty interesting that the only way that Wally was able to beat him was using the wave attack, which is basically, the tornado push, which is where a speedster spins their arms quickly in different rotations. So with later that night, Joe is taken to Star Labs. Everyone goes to Star Labs. They try to figure out what the hell's going on, and Iris ends up telling Joe about her death because Joe is so willing to go out and fight Yorkin. Well, not fight him, but Joe is the macho man of the family. He just wants to make sure everyone's okay. Iris breaks down and tells him, and Joe just doesn't have a good reaction to it. He flips out. He does what a normal father would do if you told them that their daughter was a dead man, or a woman in this case. So later that night, Iris is attacked by Yorkin. Wally heads through, but Yorkin manages to make contact with Iris before he could actually save his sister. Now he brings her back to Star Labs, where Caitlin is placed in a position where she needs to use her powers to slow down the decay. Basically, the analogy that Cisco used: what happens when a banana starts to ripen or it turns black? You put it in the freezer and it slows it down. Same concept here. Now Wally, emotionally down and dead inside, moves out of the way, thinking that he's no longer useful. Barry moves in and tells him his story and how he can train Wally. He tells him about the teachers he had, the friends. He tells him about Jay and Harrison Wells and Thawne and all of these people, and they all helped him learn. It's time for Barry to step up. And the next time when Barry isn't there, Wally will be the Flash that we all knew for the past 20, maybe even 30 years. Well, 20 years. So this is when Cisco comes down and tells them of the plan that he and HR made, which is to have Vibe, quote-unquote Vibe, the Flashpoint universe. They locate the last victim, and Joe heads down to go protect her, while the rest of the team finds a way to stop Yorkin. Julian thinks he has an idea, but during the use of her abilities, Caitlin loses over to Killer Frost, only for a moment though, just to be brought back by Julian. Now, back with Joe and the final victim, Yorkin nearly destroys a train trying to get to them. Now, to stop it, Barry does something that I've only seen him do in the New 52. Barry vibrates the train at a frequency which moves the train past debris. Now, in the New 52 comics, which is pretty amazing, Barry, as the Flash, of course, the Flash vibrates a fallen airplane through a stone bridge, a bridge, basically. But the only difference here is, after this feat, Barry from the TV show is now tired, he's out, he doesn't have any more strength. The comic book Barry is, of course, stronger. Now that Barry is out of it, this forces Wally to take Yorkin out on his own. And of course, with some encouragement, Wally's able to neutralize Yorkin's abilities using his own blood and phasing through him. With Yorkin's DNA now accessible, they synthesize an antidote to cure Iris. After another good ending, everyone's happy, everyone's kissing, Iris and Barry have made up, the family is all together, Team Flash is now a unit. We get a surprise visit from Jessie Quick, telling Wally that her father was taken by Gorilla Grodd. Now, that is the end of the episode, and it was a pretty good filler episode. I'm surprised they used Yorkin, and that's really his name. There's nothing else. Clive Yorkin. The show was good. My only issue is, Julian. Julian is, during the episode, Julian had this idea that everything is pretty much his fault, because as alchemy, he created these metas. And now there's I believe there's one more meta out there, and that's Julian's main goal, is to find them before they hurt anyone else. Now, for me, this episode is a 6 out of 10, which is a good episode. 5 is less than good. Then we get the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 100s. 6 out of 10 is good. It's a filler episode. It doesn't really add on to Clive Yorkin. He's still alive, I guess, but his powers are gone. But we'll see how things change in the future. Anyways, I'm Leo Young. I hope you did find this informative, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.